Hello and welcome to DCG's development update. We are here with the platform core and mobile teams to give you an update of what happened in the past 2 weeks. We are planning a dedicated Q&A session at the end, so please use a prefix, a Q prefix, letter Q prefix for every question that you would like us to answer in the end. And without further ado, let's start with the platform team. Sam, would you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So I'm just waiting for the slides. There we go. So actually, I was not on tokens. I worked on iOS. So Yvonne and Paul continued working on tokens. Yvonne actually also came in and worked on Rust-Core for iOS with me. I forgot to put that down here, but yeah, Rust-Core was a big, big part of these last 2 weeks. What is Rust-Core? It is basically all the core functionality written in Rust that we can later use throughout parts of the project. And in this case, we're going to be using that for iOS. So a lot of progress was made there. Yeah, like a lot. So that was heavily worked on by me, Yvonne. And but I do know that Yvonne and Paul also worked on tokens, I think, in the first week. I mean, Yvonne worked on it in the first week, Paul in both weeks. And yeah. So State Sync was Odysseus and Lukas. GroveDB, I've recently been working on that. There was an issue highlighted by the mobile team that I'll talk about. Not a bug, just a feature that they wanted, and it's required an improvement in GroveDB. And Paul worked on the Dash Evo tool. So let's get into it. Lucas, you start.
Hi, so basically I worked on several smaller items. First one was RSTender-ABCI, which is a binding library that is connecting Tender Dash with Dash platform and Dash drive. And here I updated the GitHub Actions configuration to verify dependencies in the GitHub Actions because we found out it was disabled. So some actions started to throw error due to outdated version. So it will not happen anymore because there is that dependabot looking at that and we not notifying us whenever some dependency is needed, update is needed. Previously, it was also enabled, but only for the source code. So here we enabled that for GitHub Actions, which automate our workflows here. And also like 9 dependencies updated in this library. I did some, I think also maintenance level work on Rust SDK. So first one is a merge of long-standing PR that includes improvements to make SDK build on WASM for use in JavaScript family of languages. It's not anything that is usable. It's just like refactoring and improvements there, but it's far from complete, and we didn't put any effort into like going into the direction of JavaScript bindings for Rust SDK. Only this one PR was merged, nothing else. And second thing is quite old PR where some asset logs verification in SDK is implemented. And this PR was quite old. I just resumed working on that, applied feedback, and still have some things to fix, but hope to get it reviewed soon and merged. It's a small feature, useful whenever you want to do a state transition, so whenever you want to modify something on the platform that needs asset logs. And it helps you verify that this asset log is fresh and can be used, basically. And in terms of Tender Dash itself, on the next slide, I had like 4 topics. First topic is single node quorums, where we decided that we will go in with a solution that allows us to override some quorum parameters. And this is implemented in a way that requires or that leaves traces in the blockchain. So if we change some quorum parameters, in this case, it's about how many validators are needed to accept a block. If we change that, the blockchain will have information about that, so it can be traced. But this feature is only meant to be used for test nets and local developer nodes where you have only one node. And as you have only one node and the quorum might require, I don't know, 100 nodes or so, then you can just like pass the votes on your development environment without having all these nodes with one node. That's basically what is it about. Second thing is some new endpoint for Tender Dash RPC to only get a transaction by a hash. Previously, there was only it's all about the mempool transactions. Previously, these transactions there was only an option to fetch all transactions with pagination, but without a way to see if a particular transaction is in the mempool. The added feature allows that, and it was requested, I think, by Ivan because he needs it in DAPI or in another or in Drive. I don't remember exactly what was his use case, but it was requested, right? And some maintenance done in terms of updating development and production dependencies and state sync. That's the last and the biggest topic we're working on with Odi. On Tender Dash side, I extracted some logic from previous PR, which we decided was like wrong direction. So the part of that PR was just closed, and the other part is extracted to that separate PR, which is in review. And also some refactoring that is in progress, waiting basically for the previous one to be approved and merged, and then we will reapply this refactoring on top of this. And that's it on my side, because the most interesting part of the state sync is on Odi.
Hello, guys. Thanks, Lukasz. Some progress was made since last review. So we have the optimization done, which is basically the chunk spiking. Now we can achieve a very fast state sync for mainnet nodes with current, of course, data in GroupDB on mainnet in less than 10 minutes. The intermediate level transaction commits logic was implemented and merged. So basically, we decided that before releasing this state sync feature, of course, we needed a way to allow state sync to be committed in several steps, because transactions where you keep providing data in database transactions, those data are held in memory, and this is not very good, especially for mainnet staking. You can go out of memory, or you have a very high failure risk. So the network connection can be lost, you can crash, and you can lose all the data that you try to sync. So now you can lose only up to the last commit. So this opens the path for the ability to resume, basically. So this was done, and now the last step for finalizing this is the reconstruction of platform state. So last week I said that we did a design change. We introduced the idea of a reduced platform state saving in GroveDB. It turns out it's almost ready. We have the data that we need in GroveDB, which are synced with the state sync process, but some of the data are like 2 blocks behind, and we need to find a way to write down and the information that matches with the reconstructed one. So this is still under investigation. And then the last is an optional one, but we're gonna implement it as well. Is the limit of chunks in terms of megabytes, and not in terms of counting the chunks and applying a limit on them. That's all for me. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Odie. Hi guys. So, in addition to basically, well, I guess in the past 2 weeks I've been like adding stuff for tokens in Dash Evo tool, and in the process of that, doing like QA on tokens and some couple bug fixes and stuff. I also got some small feature requests and other Dash Evo tool related bugs. Thank you for the people who reported those to me. So we released a V 0.8.2 and 3. Really just small stuff most people won't notice. But yeah, they're kind of like edge case bugs and stuff. So yeah, but the main thing that I've been working on the past week about is a token creator in Dash Evo tool, which I am going to do a quick demo on. Let's see. All right, I think I'm sharing my screen. And so this is the main token screen where you can see all of your balances. Yeah, we have some nice designs coming from Black Magic Designer, so thank you for that. I just looked at what you sent me, and it's looks awesome. So here you see all of your tokens, and you can click on a specific one and see like different balances for different identities and do different actions such as transfer. I think last demo I showed something like this, but I didn't actually do any of these actions because they were broken, but now everything is working well. Yeah, so we have that. This search tokens screen is going to allow you to search for tokens based on keywords and stuff. And basically, I'm going to get started on implementing that token search contract into platform next week. And then once that's there, I'll actually implement it in this UI. Yeah, that will be nice. And so here's the token creator. So first you want to select identity and a key, and then you have fields for, it's a lot. This actually, I thought it was going to be a quick thing to make, but there's a lot of configurations that you can do. Sam, you went hard on this. It's pretty crazy. It's awesome. So token name, base supply, max supply is optional. We have advanced stuff like start as pause. The token, when it launches, it will be paused, and you have to do like a state transition to unpause it. Keep history. Basically, every transaction that happens with the token gets stored, like a document gets stored in this token's history contract that is in the, it's like a system contract for Dash platform. If you don't keep history, then you just have like the state of the token is just balances and stuff. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you can define decimals and whether the name should be capitalized. Action rules. So for each action, you can go in and select like who can mint, for example. No one, contract owner, a specific identity, the main group for the contract, or a specific group. And the groups are like multi-sig type of things. I'm sure Sam has talked about it before when you actually built it. Admin action takers. These are the people who can change this stuff after the token launches. Yeah, and some more configurations like changing to no one allowed. Yeah, so you can do that for all these different things, different actions, and then distribution rules. So you can code in basically like distribution functions. So like over time, the token will get distributed to. So you can configure block based, time based, or epoch based. Set like an interval like every 50 blocks. Distribute a fixed amount, say 10 or something. We have all these different, Sam coded all these different distribution functions.
Yes, I'm a little crazy.
Yes. This one, polynomial integer, you define a coefficient, a degree, a base amount. And there's this info icon that maybe will help you understand a little bit about what each one does. Yeah, so you can do that.
You're on the old version. There's more now. There's inverted
Oh.
logarithm, and polynomial integer is gone. There's only one polynomial, I think. So it will be very similar.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so then you can also choose the distribution recipient, contract owner, specific identity, or Evo nodes by participation. I guess it's like weighted based on their participation over the time interval or whatever. I'm not exactly
Well, actually,
sure.
that one's special. Evo nodes by participation, you can only do for epoch based. So it's
okay.
just a slight. That's the only one that has that restriction, because Evo, it will basically figure out for Evo nodes how much they gave out, and then you can distribute tokens to them. We're also probably going to have masternode list distribution as well. So you just distribute to all masternodes that are active. But I haven't coded that one up yet.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm using a slightly older branch, and registering with distribution rules doesn't work on my branch, so I'm not actually going to register this with distribution rules in the demo. Yeah, and then here you can change like after the token launches who can change these rules if you want. So that's perpetual distribution. Then there's pre-programmed distribution. Right now, I just have like you can paste in a JSON with basically a map timestamp to identity and amount. But I will make actual like buttons and input fields for this to make it easier to use. And use default identity to receive newly minted tokens. you can set a default identity there and allow a user to pick a destination identity on each mint. So if you mint, I think normally when you by default, if you have minting enabled, it just mint goes to like the contract owner or something, I think. But basically, if you check this, then each time you mint, you can specify an identity. So yeah, this is how it's looking now. I'll just do like token 5 base supply, register, confirm, and there it is. It's on my local platform, and you can go into here and what did I just say? Token 5. So here it is. And you can also go into, I'm going to move this into the token screen, but right now I have it in the contract screen because technically tokens are data contracts. So if you go into token 5, you can see tokens. I added this now. So it has document types, tokens with some information, but here in the contract JSON, you can see all the information. Oops, what'd I do? Yeah, so yeah, that's it. So I'm looking forward next week to getting started on this token search and probably I still have some QA to do around the creator. So yeah, thank you. I don't know. Was there anything you wanted to add, Sam?
No, it's really cool. That's really amazing that you got all of that done.
Yeah, AI
It's
is great.
gonna be pretty crazy because I think like the bar to entry, I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but the bar to entry to make a token is gonna be pretty low because, well, with that, I mean, when you just have to select from a list like to create your token, and you can make it very powerful with all those different options, pretty much as powerful as most tokens that are out there. And you don't need to know development. You don't, it's going to be pretty easy for a lot of people to make tokens. Anyways,
And plus,
let's.
it costs like I think it costs like less than a cent or something.
Oh, wait. Now, but we're gonna put in a cost.
Okay.
There's gonna be, I haven't decided how much yet, but there's gonna be a small cost because just to prevent flooding, basically. Not crazy, but maybe like half a dash or something. Okay, so GroveDB, what did I do here? I introduced first and last items at a Merc level query item. Okay, why did I do this? We have something in our system called path queries, and path queries. Oh, I forgot to turn on my video. Sorry. And path queries are can be actually quite complex with conditional branches and everything. However, the limit on one path query is global. And this was actually a design flaw that I made on purpose back when I created GroveDB because the alternative was just way too complicated. I had spent some time on it, and I couldn't spend 6 months on trying to figure that out. So I made the limit global, but the problem of a global limit is when we're trying to do some action that in one query takes multiple subtrees, the limit is global to both of those subtrees. So in this case, somebody requested a feature for get identity by non-unique public key hash. So when you're trying to get an identity by a non-unique public key hash, the non-unique public key hash, well, it can be big. It can be multiple items. It can refer to multiple identities. So you want to basically get only one at a time in your query, and then maybe search through them or do something like that. But how to do this when you have literally an infinite amount in your limit. Anybody could pollute that public key hash space. Anyways, a little bit complicated stuff. So I've introduced in GroveDB first and last items in a Merc level query item. I this is not I haven't worked on this for 2 weeks. It was more of like 1 day of work, 1 day and a half so far. So I think I need a little bit longer, but I just wanted to mention this because it adds more functionality to GroveDB and more functionality that will be useful later. And on top of first and last, one after and one before will also be added kind of as helper query items. Remember, we already have like all types of ranges, range inclusive, but just the problem is the global limits. So the most ideal thing that we could do is write all range types with limits inside, but it becomes complicated using that in our current system. I am going to try to do that over the next day or two to see if I'm able to do it, but if not, it will just be first and last for now. Okay. That's it for GroveDB. Dash core lib. So a lot of the work that I did, and then Yvonne came in and helped as well, is in Dash core lib. Mostly around deterministic mass node lists and quorum rotation work, and instance end lock validation and chain lock validation. So it's all done, and I'm going to show a demo later when we get to the iOS side of things. Also, Yvonne came in and helped. He found a few issues. You know, there were updates in version 22 of Dashcore, I think, that hadn't been taken into account in the Rust version. So we updated that. Basically cleaned up the whole library a lot. We transformed it into a mono repo between Dashcore and Dashcore RPC. So basically, the issue was every single time
Dashcore lib, not dashcore.
Dashcore lib. Okay, Rust Dashcore. Okay. You don't want it to be the C++, huh?
I don't want thinking you made some weird mono repo with my code.
Yeah, sure. This is all in the Rust libraries. So yeah, every single time we updated Rust-Core, we had to update Rust-Core RPC, and it was a pretty, I mean, it took 15 minutes every single time. And if you're doing that like, many, many, many times, those 15 minutes add up. So we decided to move everything to a mono repo, and now everything is beautiful, clean, and we love it. Now we basically have we have multiple repos, but we have three big ones on the platform side of things. We have this Dashcore, which contains all the information for core in Rust. And then we have platform, which has all the information for platform in Rust. And then we have GroveDB. So those three are our main pillars outside, I mean, for the Rust environment, and then TenderDash, of course. And if there are other libraries, I'm sorry if I forgot them. Okay, let's go on. Yes. So this is work mostly done by Ivan and Paul. So that was continued mostly at the beginning of the 2 weeks. Yeah. Token and group queries. I know Yvonne worked a little bit more on that, and it's in review. Oh, granular integer document type properties. I think he already might have talked about this 2 weeks ago, but yeah, basically, yeah, I'm almost sure he did already. Fixed token history contract tests. Yes, that's important. Return state transition execution error. Yep, that's good too. I think there was a bug in transfer to frozen account. And validation of token name localization. Yeah, so some extra work in tokens. My plan is to go back to tokens pretty much this week. And I'm going to talk more about that after I talk about how our progress on iOS. Cool. Pasta?
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Sam. So, first, real quick on 22.1. We had released that, a couple of weeks ago now, and we had a follow-up version, 22.1.1. That's now a majority of the network. Everything seems to be going very well with it. We haven't received any reports pertaining to issues with 22.1. So, if you haven't upgraded yet, you might as well. That is recommended. The big thing that it adds other stuff. You can go back and watch the previous calls where I talked about it. But the big thing is BIP324. So the P2P encryption is really valuable. So if you can, definitely upgrade now that it's been pretty stable for a while. So we can move on to the next slide. And current work, C++, migration to C++20 was actually completed in this most recent kind of time frame, so that's really exciting. It allows us to just use better C++ and express stuff more more naturally. So we're excited about that. Um, some other things were wrapped up here. Platform proof of service banning. We're going to start pretty heavily working on that this next set of weeks, these next 2 weeks. So hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll have that pretty much wrapped up. The dip for the extensible addresses in DML is pretty much done now. I think that could be merged in soon. I need to talk to the Fez about that and see what its status is for sure, but that should be able to get merged in soon, and some implementation work has already started on that. Otherwise, single member reg test, I think Constantine is waiting for some updates from uh, the Tender Dash guys to see if everything is working well with them and if they need any changes to it before we are going to merge that in. But that is pretty much done there. So moving forward with V23, the big things in V23, like I said, extensible addresses and the proof of service banding via platform. So cool stuff there. We merged in some BLS optimizations. We were doing some expensive comparisons when a lot of times we can just compare it to a empty value and get significant speed up improvements. We were basically we had a initialized object and we were sometimes comparing it to a non-initialized object, and we would do a bunch of serialization work on the initialized object when we could just say that they're not equal because something that's initialized is never going to equal something that's not initialized. So we're able to do some optimizations with that, and that should speed up MN list, and it improved the performance of some RPCs and P2P calls. So that's always good to do. Otherwise, I helped Sam with some stuff as he found various weird behavior. We found it might not strictly be a bug. It seems like the dip actually specifies it, but some weird behavior with how we set the cycle hash for ISD locks that makes it harder than it needs to be for light clients to validate instance unlocks. So in a coming protocol version, we're going to be, and this will be reflected in the dip if we need to make changes in the dip, but we're going to change that to be more correct of the cycle hash in the ISD lock is the cycle hash that signed it. Right now, it's a little convoluted and weird, and it makes life just annoying for mobile wallets and potentially very difficult, but at the very least, it makes life annoying for them, and it's a very easy change for us to implement. So, um, we're going to do that and have the cycle hash and ISD locks more accurately reflect the actual cycle that signed them rather than just the cycle that they were kind of created in, which anyway, but to say that Sam's work on some Rust Dash Core stuff has found some interesting things in Dash Core, and so we are working on those and figuring out good ways to resolve them. So I think we can move on to the next slide here. So this is a backport status. Solid progress was made on some V23 stuff. We can move on to the next slide. Here's a list of PRs that was merged in. You can go through those if you're interested. Some CI improvements, some stuff related to GCC 14, which was related to C++20. But you can go through those if you are interested. Some deadlock fixes and tests. So that interestingly, we only saw on ARM. So part of our CI strategy now is to potentially have runners on x86 and runners on ARM because it seems like they actually catch some different edge cases in thread sanitizers and memory sanitizers. So that's really good. We're glad to have those CI improvements. So anyhow, we can move on to the next slide here. And this is going to be, if it works, this is going to be a quick little video of a little website that I put together. I just played around with this for a couple hours while I was helping Sam with other stuff. So that's why sometimes Sam would talk to me and I would be like, wait, what? Can you say that again? But this shows a map of all of the master nodes throughout the world. You can zoom in and click on the clusters and everything like that. And right now you are seeing the quorums, actually, the quorum connections cycle through. So if you want to take a look at that, you can go to map.thepasta.org. This isn't a DCG product. There's no reliability guarantees or anything like that. It's just something that I worked on for maybe a couple hours and thought was interesting and fun and wanted to share. So shout out to AJ on the back end. I am using his RPC web API to get the masternode list and stuff like that. So shout out to him for kind of providing that service because that did make this a little bit easier to have everything automated and GitHub Actions to update the masternode list and stuff like that. So feel free to poke around with that. It's kind of cool to look at that. But anyway, that's all that I have. We can move on to mobile.
If I can move forward.
I sabotaged you.
Yeah, 1 second.
And by the way, for people wondering, it was really like that. I was saying, Pasta, are you with me? Are you with me? And he would be like, yeah, tell me. And then I asked the question, and then he'd be like,
say it again.
What did you say? What's the question?
I try to be frustrating for Sam.
Yeah, it worked.
All right. Thanks, guys. So yeah, we can move to the next slide. So pretty productive sprint. We released a point release for Android to fix some bugs that came up kind of quickly throughout our rollout of 11.1.1, some bugs and crashes. So that was released. 24-word passphrase compatibility testing. We finished that. That resulted in some changes to, don't recall if it was platform or the Evo tool, but it's just compatibility with mobile. So that worked out well. It did result in some other bugs that were identified that we have to fix still, relating to registration of usernames in particular. It should be noted that there are different ways that you can create identities and whatnot in the Dash Evo tool that are not compatible with mobile. So some things were to try to, I think there's going to be some improvements on the tool, the Dash Evo tool, to provide some messaging there.
Can I add something? That's my Grove DB work. That's
Oh,
the
it's
reason my Grove DB work that I was saying about earlier. It's in the Dash Evo tool, we use public key hashes instead of public keys. and there's no way to search by public key hash currently. And I'm going backwards to support the feature, and we'll support that feature in 2.0. So
Sounds good. Thanks for that. So for profile pictures saving to Google Drive, that was broke due to some changes and permissions that needed to be changed on our Google account. So that was done and fixed. We had some delays in the profile picture loading to the UI. That was fixed. We finally finished the creation of invitation, the changes for contested usernames. That took a little while. Identified a lot of bugs, which we fixed. So that was good, but it took a bit longer than we planned. There was a problem with auto logout. That was fixed. Just routine kind of maintenance to Firebase events was worked on, and happily we've been re-engaged with Ash at CTX. They've got the Dashbend API back up and running, so we were able to reconnect to that, do a good round of regression testing, as well as final testing on a new kind of UI improvement that we had already finished, but we didn't get a chance to test when the API went down. So that was all tested and works well. We have one small bit of UI changes that we still have to do, and then we should be in a pretty good position to start a beta for that. So that's exciting. There was also a crowd node issue where we had to support TLS 1.3. That was done. There's a double spend scenario pertaining to CoinJoin that is still being worked on, as well as an issue with mixing limits for those that are doing some heavy mixing. There was an issue there that we had to deal with, as well as some startup failures that's currently in progress, but I can move on to iOS. So Dash Wallet, we released a point release fixing an asset lock transaction issue. There was also some fixes for low RAM devices, some crash fixes. More work on Ferment was done, and the identity registration flow and platform sync progress. Some bug fixes and display status issues for CoinJoin, as well as crash fixes, and the final work on username voting UI work, and a second issue that we found with the Coinbase API. They make changes periodically and don't always inform us. So that was identified in the testing that we did for the first change that they made that we had to support. Yeah, so that's it from my perspective. I think Sam can go into more detail on iOS DashPay.
yes, so we talked about it. An issue that I identified was that the instance send locks rarely sometimes give the wrong cycle hash. Pasta was like trying to skirt around it, saying, "Oh no, a dip says blah blah blah," but no, this is definitely a problem. But it's not a very common problem, and when it does happen, we just need to deal with that. So I'm sure we'll fix that in the next version of Core.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'll talk with you later about it, but it looks like we just specified it wrong in the dip, and we didn't, I guess, fully think through that edge case. So, because Eugene found and I think I agree with his reading of it, that it is implemented the way the dip says it should be. So, but anyway, it's
Oh,
like logically wrong. So, we're gonna fix that. But
okay, then whoever wrote that dip is terrible. It's me.
Hey, I'm innocent.
Well, it was me and Virgil and you, right?
Yeah.
Any- Anyways, yeah. So in the previous review, I'd already said that I had done the validation for non-rotated quorums. These are quorums that verify platform and also verify chain logs. This in the last 2 weeks, I did the validation for rotated quorums. I did chain lock validation, instance and lock validation as well. I optimized the query speeds, and I'm going to show you a quick demo. Let me stop and start. So here we go. How do I share? Where do I share? There we go. Ooh. Okay. This has changed, but I think it's good. Do people see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so I just launched it. We can actually see probably core items that are coming in. I created this. First, I made a little thing. So if there's no thing that's synced yet, it's going to say this is valid. It's going to say these are not valid because it can't verify them. It doesn't have the masternode list yet. But this one says it's valid just because there are no masternode lists. But if you click on it, it says valid, yes. But this will it's a small little issue that I found recently. But if there was a masternode list and it's not valid, it would say not valid. So what we're going to do is we're going to get all the masternode lists. So I just press this button and we're going to count. So pressing now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10, 12, 13, 14. There you go. So it took 14 seconds and we synced everything. That was a little bit slower than usual. So one goal is to get this down. Right now, 14 seconds is much better than it is but currently, but I want to get that way down, but it requires core to go faster. And Pasta did say that he's worked on it and improved speed a lot. So, we're gonna verify with that once that comes out. So as you can see, all the quorums here are valid. These are all the different types of quorums, and we can see that they're valid. You can click on one, like this one had 100 members, 59 members. Can go into the QR info. So this one, like quorum at index 0 for the rotated quorum, you can see all the members. So member 30, for example, right here, did not sign and was not a member. And you can basically go through every single one and see who signed and who didn't, basically. And basically it shows that they were all validated. So the quorums were valid and everything works like 100% of the time. And if we go back into the core items right now, well, yeah, I mean, the core blocks, it won't show you much, but if we go down here, now all the instance unlocks are being validated and are all good. I mean, these are all instance end transactions. And here we see the check mark again, but this time it's actually validating the chain locks. So yeah. The library is done, as you guys can see. Like it works very well. Just needs to be inserted. I spent some time trying to do that with Vladimir, and we like there was progress there, but right now there are some incompatibilities with his current library that he has to fix. So since I don't know it very well, I mean, too many cooks ruin the pie or something like that. Basically, he's going to continue on that till the end of the week by himself to try to get it into a stage where we can finish the integration, and things are going pretty well. I mean, basically, one big issue that we had before was that half the messages were not being verifiable. There were a lot of bugs, and now there are none. Like everything is checked. I ran this for a few days the other day. That's basically how I found the issue. And I was like, wait, something's not good? How? And yeah, that's how I found the cycle hash issue. But yeah, no, everything is perfect. This can be reused again and again. You know, probably still a lot of optimization to be had, mostly from the connections from core. Like for example, right now it asks for all these lists from one node. It could ask it from like 10 nodes at the same time to just speed things up, right? But yeah, once we have this working properly, like on iOS, I believe the rest will go pretty quickly and we'll be able to release DashPay. Okay. That's my demo, and I think we're done. Do we have any questions? Oh, I didn't have my camera on that time. Oops. Oh well.
Oops.
I did it again.
So the first question, what is the path ahead for privacy preservation? There is a confusion among all of us regarding the privacy features of Dash. Conjoin is not something to take seriously. And we have an answer for that from Hilave.
Who wrote the question?
Harish Harikumar.
Oh, okay.
I'm butchering the names, sorry for that. The Dash DAO will likely have a governance vote and adding confidential transactions, but first Dash improvement proposal, a DIP, is required and is close to being done.
Yeah, I guess I can take a stab at that real quick. So I mean, high level, CoinJoin is very good at what it says on the tin of providing privacy. It has some issues, but generally speaking, we've put in a lot of work and done a good job at making it relatively quick for what CoinJoin can be, and very privacy preserving. As long as, you know, there are some ways that you can potentially shoot yourself in the foot, but as long as you don't necessarily like send, you know, 10 dash in, mix, and then send 10 dash out, it is very, very, very difficult to track even 4 rounds of CoinJoin, let alone something like 16 rounds of CoinJoin. So CoinJoin is really solid. It is really good privacy. You know, if you are using CoinJoin and then spending at a cafe, the barista is not going to know how much money is in your addresses. It just you know that's not going to happen. If your threat model is a nation state, you might want to be a little more careful and research it a bit more. But for 99.9% of people, even 2 rounds of CoinJoin is plenty, but 4, 8, or 16, and no one's going to be able to do anything about it. So um, the only thing about CoinJoin is it takes a little bit of time. You have to mix ahead of time, but the actual privacy of it is pretty darn good, as like I said, as long as you don't shoot yourself in the foot. But yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question from Ryan. Does DCG intend for our bespoke data contract tokens to be compatible with wider industry smart contract tokens like ERC20, 721, etc.?
I mean, it's impossible that they're compatible because we don't have smart contracts, right? So you can't write smart contract code right now inside of Dash. So I mean, no, they're not compatible. Do they have all the same features? Yes. If you took, for example, Tether, could you replicate every single feature in Dash in under 10 minutes? Yes, you could. So, I mean, I could at least under 10 minutes with Paul's tool, right? Like you just select the options and you're done. Can you, like, let's imagine later down the line, there's somebody who has like a betting market written in a certain smart contract language. Can they just be imported into Dash? Well, we're not sure yet. Probably not, but probably not far, right? Because we don't offer the same functionality that, I mean, we'll offer much more functionality than in terms of being able to search for your tokens, in terms of being able to do various queryable actions directly on your tokens. Being able to, use your tokens directly for items, and it's more about the data retrieval that will excel. Not strictly compatible. Probably never strictly compatible unless you're dealing with I mean, not you can't take the smart contract code and just paste it in.
Thank you. Question for Quantum and Pasta. Any thoughts? It is from Digital Cash Network. Any thoughts from the CT dip from the chat I set up with the dev? Question mark. There's new stuff in there.
Go ahead and DM me, Joel. I hadn't seen that you actually set up a group chat, so just DM me somewhere, and I'll make sure to take a look, and then we can figure out what the deal is there.
Yes,
Thank
I
you very
haven't
much.
actually probably opened my phone in a few days either, so yeah, I'll look.
All right, next question. Can the current DET release help expose private keys for usernames created using DashPay?
Expose private keys for usernames created
using DashPay.
I'm gonna guess that they mean for identities created using Dash Pay. I mean, I'm tired. Maybe I just don't understand the question. We could have a private key export feature for any derivation path that you feel like having. Yes. We don't have that feature. If you can explain the feature request, do an issue on GitHub, and we'll look into it.
Expose private keys.
I'm guessing that they mean like between identities. So like if I send to you, or can you expose the private key that you're of the address, maybe? Because there's no other tool anywhere on the web that has that. It uses 256-bit integer derivation. There was a whole dip for that back in 2018. I think it's dip 13 or 14. I forget.
I see no further questions. So thanks for coming. Thanks for the questions and the feedbacks. And see you in 2 weeks.
Yep. Take care, everybody.
Take care, everybody. Oh, one last comment. If I create a username on Android Pay, I don't have access to my identity keys, etc. That was the extension of the previous question.
Oh, so if you created on Android Pay, or it was Android Pay, right? You don't have access to the keys because you basically aren't able to import it. Yeah, we'll have to look into that. Paul, this is probably something that you're gonna take.
A new quest.
Okay.
New side quest, yes.
Ryan says you just need a robust path key generation tool. AG made a proposal for it already.
I mean, the code's already written, so in Rust-core for the derivation.
Mhm.
Just need to make it to view it. So I think no need to spend a lot of money on this. We just need to actually show it.
Mhm. All right. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the questions and the feedbacks. And see you in 2 weeks. Cheers. Bye-bye.